Want help to grow your business? Download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.
Welcome to another episode of Course Creators, and I'm your host, Sarah Cordner. Today, we are going to be talking about how to build your course quickly and prepare for your launch. This is about going through everything we've covered in some of the other episodes here on Course Creators and pulling all of that content together. The bit that a lot of course creators get stuck on is knowing where to put each piece of the puzzle and actually doing this final construction of their online course. It's almost a bit like now we've kind of got all our content together, now it's getting real. And this is where people kind of freak out with the whole real moment and just get stuck. So we're going to look at some basic strategies that you can use, some different methods that I use when I'm pulling course content together. A couple of different methods I'm going to show you because different ones are going to suit different people depending on how you prefer to actually work. Then we're going to also touch on some reminders of some of the things we're going to be looking at that we've covered in other episodes, making sure that there's market demand, making sure we're putting the right content in the course, making sure that it's delivering what the learners really want and need from your course, and making sure that the course is going to be as engaging as we possibly can. So let's talk about getting started for online course creation. Now here's the thing. When our brain has the choices of every single course topic in the world, when our brain can choose from anything, it can't choose at all. And this is a problem that happens with course creators. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've ever had this situation where you have gone home from work, let's say, you've come back to the kitchen and you've said to your family, your spouse, your housemate, whoever you live with, what do you want for tea? And they go, I don't know. What do you want for tea? And you go, I don't know. What do you want for tea? This thing goes round and round. Nobody knows what they want for dinner. Everyone's just stuck in this blank space, blank page mode. And this is exactly what happens to online course creators when they're faced with a blank page from which to build their course. So what happens in our what should we have for dinner situation is that as soon as somebody whips out a takeaway menu, or as soon as someone says, stuff it, let's go down the pub, and there's a menu for the restaurant put in front of them, all of a sudden, after a bit of deliberation, everyone knows exactly what they want. And this is because when our mind is focused on some particular choices, our mind can make a choice. So when it comes to our course creation, there's a few techniques we're going to use today that are going to help you just get started by narrowing your brain down to some specific choices to choose from so that we don't have this complete overwhelm of limitless possibilities. One of the first things we really want to do when we're pulling all of our content together is to remember that we are only here to teach what we do know how to do. Let's avoid this feeling of overwhelm and fear and imposter syndrome and I can't do this thoughts by literally getting rid of everything we don't know how to do. If you feel like you need a script for it, ask yourself this. Do you need a script because you don't know the content well enough? Or do you just need a script because you're feeling a little bit nervous because this is an unfamiliar situation? If you need the script because you're feeling a little bit nervous, that's okay. It's normal to feel a little bit nervous when it comes to actually presenting your loving content. If you need the script because you don't know the content well enough, please remove that content. Remove that content until you do know it well enough to confidently and competently stand up on stage or stand in front of a camera or put your voice onto a microphone and explain that out loud. So what we want to do is by focusing only on what we do know, we're now going to, first of all, get rid of some choices so that our brain doesn't stay in this overwhelm mode. The less we have to choose from and think about, the easier this is going to be for us to plow forward and rapidly create our online course. So when it comes to picking things that we do know how to do, we do know how to explain, then the first step is to basically brain dump. The first thing we want to do is write down all of the things that just come straight into our heads that we do know about our topic. In another episode in Course Creators, I've mentioned to you one of my favourite techniques, which is using the post-it note method. And I've got a slide to show you how that works in a second. This means that you put one tip, one piece of knowledge, one idea, one concept per post-it note, so that you're breaking up every single piece of content into its individual parts, which is really going to help with the rest of what we're going to cover in this episode, which is pulling it all together, putting it into the right order. So once you've done your brain dump and you have exhausted your brain of everything it can possibly think of, then there are a couple of other strategies that we're going to use to start helping you pull out more of what you do know and get it into a logical order, ready for an engaging online course. So the next thing we need to do for rapid content curation is then start finding more of what we do know. Now, here's something I want you to bear in mind. This method we're going to use is not to copy other people's content. If we're copying other people's content, we're building something that's already out there that isn't unique and means we're going to have a course that simply doesn't stand out. We do not want to be replicating what's already out there. We want to be standing up as a leader in our industry. And that means we have to be different. We have to think differently. And the way that we explain things that may be common across our industry sector needs to be explained in our own unique language and come at from our own unique perspective. So bear that in mind with this next strategy. Something I love is to get my juices flowing when I've got a blank page in front of me and I have no idea where to start. This is a strategy I love to use. Now, let me give you a little story before I explain. Now, I have a Facebook group of my own where all of my particular audience hang out. And in this particular Facebook group, one day, one of my members of the group asked a question. And that particular question was, Sarah, how did you build this Facebook community? It's great. We love it. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to answer that question. I'll give a couple of tips. And as I started brain dumping and writing my bullet points down on paper, I realized that my answer was perhaps a little bit more than just a comment, a reply to her question in the group. So I thought, I know, I'll do a blog post on this. So I started writing down my tips. And then I thought, you know, I don't think I've quite exhausted all of the methods I really did use to build this Facebook group. So I went online and I typed in how to build a Facebook community, and loads of articles came up about how to do that. And as I went through the articles, I was going, oh, I did do that. I did do that. Oh, wow, I forgot I did this. But I did. That is how I built my community. So what happened is, by looking at an existing list of methodologies that someone else had come up with, it jogged my memory. It helped me go from blank mind, open, limitless opportunities and possibilities that we could possibly have picked from, to laser focus. Did I do that? Did I not? Do I know this? Do I not? And it enabled me to actually find even more things that I actually had done to create this particular Facebook group. Now, by the time I collected up all of these things that I did and then explained them in my own way, I actually ended up with an entire ebook. So this is how you can really go and use what's already out there as a memory jogger, as a knowledge jogger, or as a checker to see if this is something more of what you do know and stuff you can include in your course. Now, what you're not going to do, like I said, is copy. You're going to go, how do I do this? How do I apply this? Maybe it's a list of tips in a completely different industry. How can you apply certain methodologies or strategies from another industry in your completely different industry? That again can make it unique. So I find this particular method, the how-to and ways-to method, a fantastic strategy to rapidly bring a course together. On my course creation boot camps at this particular stage, I ask everybody to grab a pile of post-it notes that I've provided, and I ask them to go and find 25 tips on their topic by typing into Google how to whatever their topic is, or ways to whatever their topic is. And what happens is all of these articles will pop up and they can go through, and they are only allowed to write down the things that if I put a camera in their face right there and then, they could confidently teach about unscripted without any prompts whatsoever. You explain it in your own way and in your own language. And by the way, that's exactly what does happen on the bootcamp. We do put a camera in front of their face, and that's what you're going to have to do when it comes to filming these. So don't read them and think you have to explain it in the way that it's being explained in the documents that you found. But this is a fantastic strategy for getting started. So making sure, again, you're putting one idea per post-it note. Do not worry about putting them in any kind of sequential order at the moment. Right now, you're just brain dumping and information collecting, ready to start building out shortly. So by now, you have now got a big brain dump of information. You've jogged your memory by having a look at some lists of tips that have maybe been curated by other people, and you've now got a big pile of post-it notes worth of tips that you could deliver. The next technique now is trying to find even more of what you do know. Now, if you've been watching the Course Creators channel here on Bryn, there are some other episodes where I go into this in much more detail. So this is just a reminder, and if you'd like some more tips on this, do go and check out the Course Creators channel on Bryn, where you can find out exactly how to execute these particular strategies. But there are 3 places that I really, really love people to go and check out when they are creating their own online course and want to do it as quickly as they possibly can. So, finding more of what you do know.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.